Welcome to the Hurrian Network, where we're connecting people through networking. And the last video and the last video before that, so the last two videos, I talked about was virtualization and the types of virtualization. And as we can see right here, I actually opened up Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager, which is, by the way, one of the type 2 hypervisors for virtualization. So yes, we are actually going to make an Ubuntu virtual machine from scratch using this application. And let's get right to it. So we're going to go here, new, and we're going to specify, we're going to do Linux since we know it's Ubuntu. We're going to go to 64-bit, that's what we're doing. And we're going to call this Ubuntu test. We're going to do this for testing purposes, right? Memory size, so is 1 gig of RAM is the recommended memory size for this type of VMs, for Linux Ubuntu VMs here. But we can see here, this is like, I can get up to this point. Anything here is like, it's kind of overkill at this point. It's like caution zone, right? So within this range is pretty good. So we're good. We're going to do that. Now we're going to make the hard disk, okay? And the recommended size is 10 gigs. And we're going to make this virtual hard disk right now. So let's do that. Now the hard disk file type, what we're going to pick is VirtualBox disk image. We're going to leave the default. Because these ones, I believe you would have to actually have a virtual hard disk that's actually made, and a virtual machine disk as well too. And I mean, if you learn more about virtualization, you're going to hear VHDs a lot and VMDKs quite often with VMware, with Hyper-V and things like that too. But now let's just stick with this one, go next. And storage on the physical hard disk. So there's two options here. We see dynamically allocated, which is the default here, and there's fixed size. So with fixed size, it says here it takes longer to make on the systems and it's faster used. But with fixed size, that means that whatever size you specified, it's going to be utilizing all that size. Whereas dynamically allocated, it will slowly start to fill up and utilize your space. So you're going to actually save space long term. That's why it's dynamically allocated. It's going to put a small specific amount of space, let's say for like your actual storage and things of that nature. So it's expanding basically in a way, you know. It's called thin provisioning. So you're not wasting all of the space of the storage instantly like a fixed size. So it's going to slowly use the space basically and fill up. You see it says here up to the maximum fixed size. So it's not going to be like instantly using all of it, the max amount instantly, right? That's the whole point. So let's go here and say dynamically allocated. And the file location and size we can say is here, that's no problem. So this is where the virtual hard disk will be. So we can actually do a new window here. And then I can go to home. And then VirtualBox VM here. This is where we're going to have this. So let's make it and let's see now. So we see we have the VDI right here. And this is going to be the VirtualBox. So that's to make the VM basically, right? So now we actually have to mount the ISO file. That's the next step. So we got to go to settings. And within settings, we have different options we can specify of this virtual machine we're going to make. And we have general settings here. We see the different tabs, advanced. Snapshots is basically saying you have a point in time that you can maybe specify, like on your virtual machine if you're doing something. Let's say you are testing an update, right? Before your update, you create a snapshot. You have the snapshot. And then basically, let's say after the update, if anything ever happens, let's say it doesn't come out right, you can always revert back to your snapshot that you made, which is a previous point in time of your actual virtual machine before the upgrade. You'd use it for things like that. So this is why snapshots will be actually very useful. You have description here and disk encryption if you want to enable it. All right. So to secure your disk, right? We have system information here, motherboard, processor, acceleration. So we see that it'll go up to 2 as the most processors. Alright, and we know the storage. So this is where you actually could change and expand your storage, by the way, even after you make the virtual machine, just to keep in mind. And even the processor information as well too. And there's a boot order that goes through regarding your virtual machine that shows you right here. And there's basically that. This is display related stuff, so the screen, remote. So this is like if you're using RDP, you can see the port number for it, 3389. And to implement recordings, you can do that here. Okay. So we're going to go to storage actually, by the way. We're going to go to here. This is one of the storage controls we have. That's empty, the IDE. The SATA one has the actual VDI storage. So we're going to go to the empty one here. We're going to select here. And we're going to choose a disk file. And over here, we're going to pick this Ubuntu 20.04 desktop. All right. So now we're going to say OK. But before you do, we can look into other options. We have audio. This is where you'd enable your network adapter. So you have different options here like NAT. So obviously network address translation. So your private IP addresses could be translated to public. There's an internal network, which is where you have VMs to be able to speak with each other. And this is a host-only adapter, meaning that only you communicate to the actual host. You can't communicate to other VMs. And then bridged one, I believe, is like an external one in a way that you can communicate to all VMs within your network. You can also communicate to the host. And if the host is connected to a specific routing device or network device, you can be able to reach out to there. But obviously, if there's different IPs involved, I mean, that is the best way to go about it, right? So depending on how you want to set up your environment, this is where you can change your network adapter. And you can add also additional adapters, right? Serial ports, we can see here. We can implement here. USB, we can implement shared folders as well too. And this is a user interface. So that's all of that. We're going to say OK. And now we are actually going to start this up. So you see the options here though. The snapshots and logs. So this is where we can do snapshots, by the way. But alright, so let's start this up. And we can see that the installation is happening right now. And it's going to go through that, checking the disks. And file systems, making sure everything is good. Just like you would do when you're installing an operating system on your physical device, your physical computer, laptop, or if it's a physical server, you have a server operating system. It's going to be similar processes here, right? So just checking that everything is good. And then you go through your typical installation information, specifying what language, the time zone, all that kind of stuff. And then later on, specifying a username and a password. We're going to go through all of those things throughout this process, as you would when you're just installing an operating system on any device, basically. But the difference is this is just a virtual environment, right, instead of physical. This is known as a guest operating system that is actually running on the host. And in this case, the hypervisor and the host, would be this application known as Oracle VM VirtualBox. So let's see right here. So we're going to install Ubuntu, and it's English, so that's fine. All right, and then we're going to say English is fine here too. We're going to go next. That's for the keyboard layout, so that's all right, no problem. Now, what apps would you like to install and start with? So this is the normal installation. It shows you what options there is here. Minimal, like this. Just because we're doing testing purposes and just to see it go through the process, I'm going to do a minimal installation. And we're going to download the updates too while installing Ubuntu. Why not? Make sure everything's up to date too. All right. But if you're actually utilizing this VM and you want it to have additional things, then you would preferably should go for the normal installation over the minimal installation. And there's third-party software installation option as well too, graphics, Wi-Fi, and other media formats it says here, and some of it's proprietary is specified right there as well too. Okay, so installation type here, it says you can create, resize partitions for the disk, or choose multiple partitions for it, or you can just do a from scratch, erase the disk and install Ubuntu. So remove any programs, documents, it says here photos, music, and any files in the operating system. Since there's nothing on this, we're just going to do this like clean installation option. But let's say maybe if you had to upgrade or something like that, then you would have to pick this choice here, because you do not want to remove anything that you have, right? So keep that in mind. But this is fresh, so that's fine. And there's an advanced features option, so we can see that too if we actually select it. And it just tells us these options here. In this case, that's all right. I don't have no concern with that. We're going to do install now. And now it just gives a warning as well to like specify if things do continue and the changes below will be written. Basically telling me the information of the partitions as well too. Partition tables of the following devices, specifying that as well. All that's fine. So it's just telling you what's going to be written before you do it, so you can clarify it. And I am actually in Toronto, so in my case, this is the right time zone, so that's fine. We're going to say continue. And now here, we're going to say okay, there we go. We're going to call it H network. Why not? And then I'm going to put in my password. All right. That should be fine. You have options here to log in automatically or require my password to log in. I'm going to obviously pick this for security purposes, of course. And we're going to go continue from here. right. So now it's going to go through this installation, which is going to take a lot of time, by the way. So if you're watching this video and you're going through the instructions and the step-by-step of doing this, and you can try doing this with other operating systems as well too. It doesn't necessarily have to be Ubuntu. You can try with a Windows client operating system. It could be a Windows server. It could be a Linux server like Red Hat. It can be other Linux distributions, distros, whatever the case may be. Or even Mac as well too, right? So when you're going through this process, this is the part that usually takes time. So you can just sit back, relax, and then you can actually go to the part when I get to the point where everything is done. And then when everything is done, we're going to see it up and open, and we should be able to log in, and then from there hopefully see that everything is working successful and the installation has been completed. So until then, I'm going to be on hold here, and I'm going to get back to you guys once that has been completed. Alright, so now we're back, and we got to this point here where the installation is complete, and now I have to restart the computer to use this new installation it says, so we're going to do a restart. And hopefully it becomes successful, right? Press enter. All right. And it's looking good so far that we got to this point. Alright, so yep, here's the account. Now I gotta sign in with the password that I put for it. Alright. Alright, now it's going to be loading up. And here we have it, an Ubuntu virtual machine. And since the network adapter is NAT as well too, and since I have network connectivity on my physical device, this should be fine as well too. And we can see the applications that are here. And obviously we can see a terminal. So right, this would be looking like the same as this. If we open this up, we should be able to see that as well. Yep. Home directory. We can find out we are in the home directory, right? And we can go into terminal. We can check the web browser to see if there's internet connectivity, we can access it. But we could actually verify network connectivity as well too, if we have that configured on here, actually, by doing this. Before I even try to type a web browser. Let's see. Oh yeah, I have to actually install it using this. So let's do that. to install network tools on here. So sudo apt install net tools. If you're using like Red Hat, if you're using Fedora, you'd use yum, instead of apt. Something to keep in mind for anybody that's trying to get into Linux for installing any tools or things of that nature. And we can update the software as well here too. It gave us some notification here. We can look into that. We can leave that on the side for now, but now I should be able to use this command. And we can actually see here, we do have an interface, an IP address of this, 10.0.2.15, the /24 subnet mask. The broadcast IP uses the last octet of 255. And let's actually find out by using this command dig. This is very similar to NSLOOKUP on Windows accounts, not Windows accounts, pardon me, on Windows client devices, things of that nature, or Windows Server, so Windows operating system. And we're going to say do we get any information? Yes, we do. So there's name resolution, and we got the A record for this for google.com, which is the domain name, and that's the IP, right? So that means that internet should be working. I mean, our NAT adapter is configured with NAT as well too, so it should be fine. We can see that. We can get Google. We can get YouTube as well too, right? And there you have it. Basically, we install a virtual machine, we check the settings, the storage to mount the ISO, we checked the memory, we checked the virtual hard disk, we see where that was stored, and we also seen the network adapter as well too. And for anybody that has been watching my videos, been liking, subscribing to my channel, and being supportive, I really appreciate it as always. And if you want any more content like this, and regarding networking content as well, and other things that I'm learning throughout my IT journey, I will present it in this channel. And also I will have even more conversations as well too about things to keep in mind when it comes to IT. And it's not only just technical, by the way, it's even things that are non-technical. But we're going to leave that for those videos when that time comes. But anyways, if you have enjoyed it, thumbs up, like, share it with anybody that you know that's within IT that's interested to understand these things and to see how to go about it, and to join my journey. And hopefully you guys are coming up on your journey while I'm coming up on mine as well too. And also, if you want to, add and connect on LinkedIn, we can connect on LinkedIn. You reach out, you have any questions and things like that, feel free to ask on here as well too. And until next time, take care.